The only other person to talk about how unintentionally creepy this episode was is Lily Orchard, so I once again have to do everything myself. Now, this isn't going to be me trying to cancel the show or claim it's problematic or whatever. I actually have opinions and thoughts on how to improve this episode. Dragon Dropped was the 19th episode of Season 9 of Friendship is Magic, and it aired at a time where you could tell they were kinda running out of ideas and trying to tie up loose ends. See, Lauren Faust left the show during Season 2, and between Seasons 4 and 5, almost the entire writing staff changed, so the later seasons were mostly full of new writers trying to make sense of things that were left unexplained or unresolved, adding fan fuel or inserting their own headcanons. Spike's crush on Rarity had been a point of contention for years at this point. According to Lauren Faust, it was supposed to be seen as a one-sided childhood crush that he would eventually grow out of, and I thought that was obvious, but there were still fans rooting for these two together. This plot point should have ended in, Season 3, in my opinion. So how did they finally, but not really, manage to put an end to this annoying plot point that dragged out for way too long?
Oh, Spike! I am so sorry!
Yeah, the biggest problem with this episode is how unintentionally creepy Rarity seems, and we'll get to that. This episode starts with Rarity looking for Spike to accompany her on a trip to the Gem Cave, only to find him writing a letter to someone. And right off the bat, her behavior comes across as creepy.
And I can't think of any pony I'd rather have along than my favorite basket holder / bodyguard.
Bodyguard? He's a little boy. Spike ignores her to Rarity's annoyance and runs off, ignoring her offer entirely. When he says he needs to get to the post office, Rarity just laughs at him, as if he couldn't possibly have anything better to do.
Right, sounds great. But I need to get to the post office before noon.
All right, very funny.
Rarity decides to drag Applejack along instead, getting increasingly annoyed with her and only talking about Spike.
And he usually pulls me closely so no gem ever touches the ground.
Okay. After this, we get a long scene of Rarity venting to Twilight and decided she must have hurt Spike's feelings and needs to apologize to him with a grand gesture.
Must apologize!
For what?
Oh, that's hardly the point.
By the way, Rarity keeps dismissing and ignoring Twilight when she says it doesn't sound like Spike to hold grudges. You know, Twilight, the one who raised him and acts as a surrogate mother / sister, the one who's known Spike her whole life. After this, we're reintroduced to Gabby, who we find out is the official mail carrier for Griffinstone. Rarity practices her weird, vague apology on Gabby when Spike shows up.
Spike! Oh, Spike! I am so sorry. Please forgive me.
Spike says he's not mad at her and declined her offer because he had other plans.
With me!
Turns out Gabby is Spike's pen pal, and they've been writing to each other for a while. Rarity is upset by this. After Gabby and Spike fly off, we get a montage of Spike helping Rarity, showing that the main reason she misses him is because she uses him to help with her work. Now, there's already two problems here. Now, I like Gabby. She's a fun character, but her inclusion here felt really random. I get they both write letters, so they became pen pals, but it just makes Rarity come across as even creepier because she has no relation or anything in common with either of them. Later we see Fluttershy helping Rarity with her sewing, which makes me wonder why she doesn't like hanging out with her other friends as much as Spike. Fluttershy suggests that Rarity tell Spike how appreciative she is of him, which gives Rarity an idea. And here we get the worst scene in the episode. Rarity, get off of that child's bed. Rarity invites Spike to go with her to the
great gem crevasse of the Crystal Mountains.
that. Spike seems interested, but of course he already has plans with Gabby. But Spike decides to cancel his plans with Gabby to spend time with Rarity. Later, when Spike is telling Gabby about his trip, they quite literally run into Rarity, who offers Spike's tickets to a convention. Gabby is slightly upset at this. The next day, Rarity insists Spike teach her about ogres and oubliettes. Gabby walks in on them and confronts them. The way this episode is set up feels almost like a cheating plotline. It doesn't help that Rarity is also playing as Princess Schmerity, who is Spike's love interest that he created for himself in O&O. And there's no way Rarity isn't aware of this. After Gabby confronts Spike, he starts helping Rarity again, but he's too sad to focus. Rarity hopes he's able to reconcile with Gabby, but he doesn't think she wants to. Spike and Rarity go back to the castle, and Twilight asks Rarity what happened. Rarity lets it slip that she was purposefully making it so Spike couldn't spend time with Gabby, and Twilight calls her out. Twilight explains that just because Spike made a new friend, that doesn't mean he stops being Rarity's friend, and Rarity says,
I know, but now I have to share him.
as if she wasn't doing that before. Spike was already Twilight's assistant before they met Rarity, and she never complained about having to share him with her. Rarity seems to instantly understand her mistake, but I still feel like Twilight should have brought that up. Anyway, Rarity decides she has to fix the mess she's made. She apologizes to Gabby and...
These are the items I used to lure Spike into spending as much time with me as possible.
Why don't you have a seat?
The lesson of this episode is that just because your friends have other friends doesn't mean they don't like spending time with you, which is a fine lesson, but this episode was executed so weirdly. Rarity still says a line about sharing him at the end. As you can probably tell, the biggest problem with this episode is that Rarity's behavior is way too over the top, and her actions and word choices just come across as creepy, and she's never properly called out on it. She learns her lesson, sure, but her actual behavior was never really addressed. Rarity has never had this problem with sharing Spike before, and it doesn't make sense because his relationship with Gabby is completely different than his relationship with Rarity. Spike isn't being an assistant to Gabby or treating her how he treats Rarity. They're just being normal friends. So Rarity's behavior feels especially odd. Now, how would I make this episode better? First of all, tone down Rarity's over-the-top obsessive behavior and have her be properly called out on it. Maybe have Twilight mention what I say earlier about how she never had a problem with Spike in Twilight. Spike's a part of Twilight's family. She should be more defensive about this. Next, replace Gabby with Sweetie Belle. Now, hear me out. I think this would fix the problem of Rarity coming across as creepy. Spike and Sweetie Belle are closer in age and have stuff in common.
I prefer show tunes.
I got it! Show tunes!
Yeah, no, but good try.
I don't think them hanging out would be too out of nowhere. Sweetie Belle studies magic with Twilight sometimes, so they could have gotten to know each other there. Now, I know Spike and Gabby have stuff in common too, but Rarity's jealousy would feel less creepy because now instead of just being mad that a little boy can't be her servant anymore, she's also worried about her little sister leaving her behind, and her jealousy over Spike carries you over from that. Maybe throw in some elements from Forever Philly. Honestly, I found that episode kind of forgettable, so I think this would be a neat way to combine the plot lines into a better episode. I would also like to see Spike get over his crush on Rarity and move on, and it seemed like that's what they were going for in this episode. Except in one of the shorts leading up to the series finale, it's still shown he has a crush on her. It's also not clear if Spike and Gabby's relationship is platonic or romantic. If it is romantic, then that makes Rarity's actions 1,000 times worse, but to be honest, I don't think it is. Gabby has the same proportions as Gilda, so I think she's an adult, just really excitable. Also, child griffins look like this. So, in conclusion, tone down Rarity's weird obsessive behavior, replace Gabby with Sweetie Belle so her motivations make more sense, and have Twilight call Rarity out and talk to her. But all of this is assuming an episode like this needed to exist. All of this is assuming we needed an episode about Rarity being jealous of Spike spending time with someone else. An episode about Spike moving on from his crush on Rarity would be fine on its own, but it should focus around him, not Rarity. And that's not what they were going for here anyway. I don't think the writers of this episode had any bad intentions. I'm not going to accuse them of anything. I don't even think this is as egregious as I or most people were letting on. Just a messy episode with some unfortunate implications. In all honesty, this was an excuse to spread my Spike Belle propaganda, but that aside, I do genuinely think that would make a better episode. Honestly, Gravity Falls did it better. Rarity should have openly rejected Spike and explained to him that she's too old for him, and I genuinely believe that's what Lauren Faust had planned had she not left the show. Anyway, thanks for watching. As always, more of my links will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.